Hey guys, it's Mel. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be quite personal and different from what I normally upload. So bear with me. It's gonna be a rough time, but that's okay. I signed up for this, right? So today I'm gonna be talking about my mom's death and basically how it affected my life and everything going on with me now. And I'm going to tell you like the whole story and the background of just everything that was going on. Um, it's going to be like a really big story time. So, um, yeah, so here I wrote, I'm really, really bad at organizing my thoughts and telling stories. So I wrote down everything on like a double side sheet of paper. Well, actually, not everything, but most of it I wrote down so that I can stay on track and not have to like be like, oh wait, I forgot to say something, so that you know what I mean? So to make it a little more enjoyable and understandable for you. Um, so I guess let's get started with the story. I haven't even rehearsed this. I just like wrote it down like 2 seconds ago. So we'll see how this goes. I don't know. Don't even know how long it's gonna be. So my mom died of cancer, and basically she was diagnosed with cancer about 6 to 7 years ago. And that would make me either in like 8th or 9th grade at the time. Um, and I remember when she told me first, I was in my room at her house and she had told Alex before me. So I remember like she was in his room and he like started crying when she told him. And then when she came into my room to tell me, I like didn't cry. She was like, everything's gonna be fine. It's not a big deal. Like, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. And I believed her. I feel like it was kind of insensitive of me to not cry, but at the same time, it's not really voluntary. Like, you can't help that. But it was kind of weird of me not to, right? Is that weird? I don't know. But she told me she had cancer, and I like didn't really think twice about it. She said it was gonna be fine, so I believed that she was gonna be fine. And when she was diagnosed, the doctor said that she'd already probably had it for like 5 years. So basically, it was undiagnosed for 5 years, and then they found it. So I'm not breathing weird because I'm like crying or something. I'm breathing weird because I think I'm some type of sick. Like, I don't know, I feel mucusy and gross, but anyway. Um, so there was a lot more things going on at the time that she was diagnosed. For example, she was also pregnant at the same time, so that was happening. I was gonna get a new baby sister, and I was dating my first boyfriend, which was pretty relevant, and I was just starting high school. You wanna come up here? Rocky just walked in. So there was like a lot of things going on all at the same time, and it was like a big, weird, important time for me because I was like barely becoming a teenager and starting to like, well, not really mature, but my relationship with my mom at that time when she was like diagnosed and all that stuff was happening wasn't the best. I was always always grounded. We were always arguing. We were never on the same page. We just didn't really understand each other. Um, I don't know, like it wasn't like we hated each other or anything, but we found each other very difficult. We never really were able to communicate, and it was kind of rough. But anyway, so then in December of 2013, I know I didn't ever give you an original date, so this means nothing to you, but whatever. So the baby was born on that day, well, that month. And it was, ever since that, like, my life went downhill, which is really kind of, I don't know. I mean, so many people have had so many things to say about this for the past, like, literally since then. Come on. Come on. Okay, he's gonna come up. I just need to keep going. So the baby was born, and that really negatively impacted me because I felt replaced. So, hi. Um, so for background, in that house, the house that I lived in with my mom, there were 6 people. So it was me, my mom, my brother, and then my stepdad and my 2 stepsisters. And then the baby made the 7th person. So out of those 6 people that originally were living there, I was my mom's only like blood daughter. So she had 2 stepdaughters, but I was like her only real daughter, I guess. Um, so when the baby was born, I felt replaced as like my mom's only daughter, which I know doesn't make sense because there's obviously 2 of us, but the baby was just more relevant, obviously, because she needed more attention. She wasn't responsible for herself. But being a depressed 15-year-old, I did not, that just didn't fly with me. So it really like tore me down. It felt like nothing good came out of my mom having a baby. It felt like it ruined my life. And that's the most dramatic thing ever, like I know. But this was my life. This is actually how I felt during that time. It really felt like everything was downhill from there and that things were just not going to get better. I didn't try to hide the fact that I was upset about the whole like new baby in the family situation, and slowly my whole family turned on me, which wasn't a fun time and really didn't help anything. So I turned into like the terrible big sister and a brat, and the baby was an angel and perfect in the center of everyone's world, and just, I don't know. We were opposites. So I was very upset all the time, and nobody ever even wanted to hear me out. Like anything that I thought or felt, it was just disregarded and it wasn't valid. That's how my family treated me. They thought that not accepting the baby was not acceptable. They kind of disowned me in a way. Like, that sounds dramatic, and they didn't, I still lived there. I was still a part of the family, but they never really accepted me after that. I kind of became the odd one out. My mom was the only one who listened to my thoughts and feelings about the whole thing, um, which is amazing because it was her baby. So I'm sure out of everyone, she was the one who was the most hurt by me not really being fond of it. So I don't know. She was just a really good mom. She was there for me, and she listened to me, and she disagreed with me, of course, because the whole like family is family thing, but I never believed in that. I thought I was born into the wrong family. This isn't my fault. I didn't sign up for this. Why do I have to deal with it? You know what I mean? I had a pretty negative attitude about a lot of stuff like that. So, which goes with depression. So, honestly, how could they blame me, right? So, basically, the whole family hated on me because they thought that I was hating on the baby. And I'm not gonna lie, I really wasn't happy about it. And I wasn't trying to put on an act. So the family hating on me really messed me up, and still to this day, things have never been the same with them. They never warmed back up to me. And mostly I'm talking about my step family here. Like, obviously, my mom and I got close again, and that got better, but, and my brother, he and I are fine. But the step family, the people that were never blood related to me, the people that never had rose colored glasses for me, never were able to forgive me or like me or want anything to do with me ever again. That wasn't a fun time. They made up half of the people who lived in my house, and they neglected me. How do I even, they made me feel very insignificant, and they made me feel like nothing that I had to say mattered, just irrelevant. Like, I was just irrelevant and no one cared about me, and that I should just shut up and leave everybody alone and just exclude myself, or else they were gonna exclude me. So that was like, this reminds me of that one meme where the family is like, why don't you ever come down and like spend time with us, and then when you do they just like make fun of you. I don't know, that was kind of dumb, but that was what it was like. So it was either I left and excluded myself, or I was just gonna feel like shit by hanging out with them anyway. So I learned to just keep my distance, but it was very unhealthy. It made a really negative atmosphere in like the whole house. It was very bad vibes. It's not enjoyable. So I became especially depressed, and it lasted for at least a year or two. Nothing ever really got better. My sister was still the highlight of everyone's life. She was still like the most precious thing that's ever walked on the earth. I'm like literally getting back in touch with my old self. I'm being such a bitch right now. I swear I'm not this like cold-hearted anymore, but I'm getting a little triggered here. So I was still that irrelevant bitch that no one cared about. And well, besides my mom, of course, she always cared. I don't know how she was such a literal angel. But my first boyfriend that I brought up earlier, he'd broken up with me, and he was my first love, and he was really super relevant. And it took me literally like 2 or 3 years to get over him. It was insane. It was not a fun time. So that didn't help. He was like one less person that I had on my side. You know what I mean? Like I had him and then I didn't. So I was going through withdrawal from that. And then with my whole family turning on me, it just felt like I kind of had no one. Yeah, this is so basic. I feel like, I don't know, I'm not that special. I'm not looking for anyone to feel bad for me, by the way, if that's like, I hope I'm not giving off those vibes. Don't feel bad for me. I'm just telling a story, okay? So over the course of the next 5 years, my mom's cancer was kind of like in the background of things. It never really seemed that threatening or scary, or I don't know, we just kind of ignored it. Like my mom was fine. She didn't have any symptoms really. Like she went to get chemo and treatments and things, but she seemed and felt fine. So we just never really thought about it. It was just always there and we got used to it, and we just lived our life, like we would have if she didn't have it. It didn't really affect anyone besides her, of course, but she didn't really, I'm not even sure if she felt that affected. But my mom and I finally got super close a few years ago when I started college, when I finally like got a little more mature for me to understand her and for her to understand me, I guess. Like we were just more, I don't know. I was less annoying and less difficult. So we clicked better, and like the you'll understand when you're older days were kind of starting to end. So she was finally starting to like open up to me and tell me things like I was an adult, which felt nice because I was. And I don't know, we became a lot closer, like we were friends instead of just like mom and daughter. And whenever I associate mom and daughter, what I think of is like parenting and punishing, and maybe not like all negative things, but just not very personal, maybe. Like that doesn't sound right either, but just different. So we kind of went from that to friends, or that plus friends. Like we added friendship to our relationship, which was cool. Sorry, my camera died. I'm back. So she never told me about her personal life until like a few years ago. And honestly, it turned into a really beautiful relationship. We always had really deep personal talks and gave each other advice and just like talked about our feelings, I guess, which is nice. I don't know, because like we didn't really have anybody else to talk to about it, honestly. So we had each other, which was pretty cool, honestly. I was really lucky to have that with her. But unfortunately, what I had with her wasn't enough. Um, in terms of home life for me, it wasn't enough to keep me happy. Um, My stepfamily made living at home unbearable. I was just really, really unhappy there, and it was a very toxic place to live, and I knew that I had to get out, and things were not going to get better unless I took charge of my own life and left. So I left, and that's when I went to Memphis. I wasn't really running towards something, I was definitely running away from something. Um, and that was my family and home, and just, it sucked, dude. It wasn't a good time. But I left thinking that, why can't I breathe? Sorry. I left thinking that my mom was fine. She let me think she was fine, you know, and she acted fine and everything was still normal. So my dad, my stepmom, and my brother all came with me to help me move to Memphis, and my mom tagged along, and she was fine when we were there. And she was like in a little bit of pain. She wasn't able to help us like move anything, but she was there for moral support, because she knew all about my relationship with my stepfamily and how things were just fucking shitty. So she understood why I was leaving. She obviously wasn't happy about it, but she knew that I had no other option. You know, things weren't going to get better. They were very close-minded people. Um, I was just never ever going to belong there, and I was already 19, you know. I mean, how long was I gonna live there anyway? Gotta move out at some point. So I thought that my mom was gonna last forever at this point, because she'd had cancer for so long already and she was fine. So I just never really thought about it. And then once she left from helping me move, when she went back home, it was like she got hit by a train. Everything just started to not work. She couldn't walk, she was in extreme pain. Everything was just like going terrible for her out of nowhere. Like, I literally saw her a few days prior and she was fine. So, out of nowhere, she just went super downhill, and I was really confused, but also like feeling kind of guilty at the same time. I was like, I couldn't help but think, like, is it because she's like upset about me leaving? Because I know that sucks when like your kids leave. But I couldn't help but think that it was my fault, and that maybe she was like physically not okay because she was mentally not okay, and maybe she was mentally not okay because of me. Those were like the thoughts going through my head. So she stayed in pretty bad shape for a while, and then one day she just like started to get better. She was starting to walk again. She wasn't in as much pain. She was starting to be more productive and running errands and just like getting it back together, because before she was kind of like always in her bed. She couldn't really get up or do anything, but she did eventually get it all back, and she started to become more of like a normal person again, like living her life. She was out of work for a really long time though, because her health was really inconsistent, and she was a therapist, self-employed, which made it really convenient, but uh she was always having to like cancel on clients because she was like in too much pain and stuff. So she decided to just stop working for a bit until she felt better. So when she did start to get better, she was thinking about working again and like getting more involved in whatever. And I thought for sure, like, oh, thank God she's out of the woods. Like, you know, like it was really bad, but she's better. So all uphill from here. Boy, was I wrong, because that didn't really last that long, and pretty soon after, it was like she was hit by a train again. Same thing happened. She was bedbound, and then she never got up again, really. She was like that for the rest of her life, which wasn't that long, because when I moved out, that was a year ago. That's it. It wasn't even a year that she was like that. But all I understood from her sickness was that it caused her pain. I didn't really see it as like a disease or something that was killing her. I thought that she was kind of invincible, because I thought, like, how could pain kill you? Like, just suck it up. It's just pain. Like, it sucks and it hurts, but it's like, it's not. You're not dying, you know? And that's kind of how it was explained to me. I don't know who put that idea in my head, It could have been her, honestly, I don't know, but that made sense to me. It still makes sense because what happened was I think the cancer was like hitting a nerve, which was causing all the pain, but we didn't think the cancer was growing, and the activity levels were actually going down when they did her tests. So we were like, oh, you're getting better. Like, you're in pain because it's hitting a nerve, right? That's what's causing the pain, but you're getting better, and it's gonna shrink and it's gonna go away and you can keep living like this. So I knew she was in pain. I knew she was in bad shape. She couldn't walk, but I thought she was fine and she was just gonna live like that forever or until she physically recovered. So I visited her in August when I went to Crivets, passed through to say hi to her, and she said to me so many times, so many times when I was there, I can't live like this. That's what she said. Um, it almost became her life motto because she was in bed. She had to have a caretaker. She was like losing all of her muscle, kind of. It was hard for her to move. She was in pain all the time. Like, I think she said like 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, maybe 9. All the time. Like, it never went away. No matter how much meds she took, or like nothing could relieve the pain. So she was like suffering all the time. She wasn't happy. She felt like a burden, and she really didn't have that much quality of life at that point. She was in bed for months. She didn't do anything. She she like ate candy and did crossword puzzles and hung out with the people who visited her downstairs whenever they felt like it, cuz her room was in the basement and everything else happened upstairs. So it was like she wasn't even a part of her own family or home anymore. She was in like a dark room in the basement all the time when everyone else's lives were taking place upstairs. And she was just so disconnected, and I can't even imagine how shitty that was. Like, it was her house. She was there before everybody else was, and it was like they were taking over something that used to be hers. And that's kind of a weird way to look at it, and I know that doesn't really make sense. That's a little bit how I see it. Like, she used to have it all, and then it was like she was kind of invisible or something. So, the baby, who is 5 or 6, probably almost 6 now, she would visit my mom in the basement and hang out with her sometimes, but that was kind of all she got. And then my stepdad would go down there and take care of her. As far as I know, he only went down when he had to. I could be wrong about that, but it was pretty much like he was only there when my mom needed him. Like, he wasn't really there for any additional support. I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but honestly, like, do I care? Not really. Um, I'll stop there though. But anyway, so I visited her. She said, I can't live like this. Like, I'm not happy. I have like nothing to live for anymore. She didn't really say it like that, but that's pretty much what she meant. Um, and I took it kind of lightly. When she said that to me, I was always kind of like, yeah, like, this sucks. I know you're in pain and it's not fun. But I didn't know that she was totally being absolutely serious, because literally the next month she died. She was right. She couldn't live like that. It was crazy. It was like she knew almost, but I'm I'm totally mind blown because at the same time it seems like she didn't know. There's like it's the weirdest thing to think about. I've got like me and my family have like a ton of theories about the whole death situation. We don't know what she knew, but basically a few weeks after I visited her, she went to the hospital. And obviously this was before she died. I'm telling you about like when she died. She went to the hospital, which I didn't think twice about because it felt like she was always going there every once in a while because shit happens and, she's sick and whatever, she's going to the hospital. Because I was just so freaking used to everything, which I realize now is totally not normal. Like, she was in bed all the time, she couldn't walk. That's not normal. But it was normal for her, She went to the hospital and it was for an infection, but they couldn't find what it was. So they thought it was an infection, and then they couldn't figure out anything. They were like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong. Um, I don't remember what her symptoms were. And you have to remember, I wasn't home for any of this. I was in Memphis. I was living my own life for the past year. Everything in the past year, I was pretty disconnected from everything happening. I would get like updates sometimes from like my brother, who was barely ever home anyway, or from my mom, but I wasn't there to witness anything. So she'd been there for a few days already, and I meant to like call her or text her or talk to her and just see how she was doing, not thinking it was a big deal, of course, just to like catch up, I guess. And then she ended up calling me, and this ended up being the last time that I ever talked to her, and I had no idea. She called me, and we were just casually talking, and then she said, so, I'm in the hospital, and I was like, yeah, like, how are you, what's wrong, and, just, it was just so normal. And she was like, oh, well, I'm sick, like, I'm not doing well, they don't know what's wrong, and then she said, they're going to put me on hospice, but it's not a big deal, don't worry about it, that doesn't mean I'm gonna die. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to hospice. And I was like, question mark? Like, okay, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to take from that? So I was like, why are you going there then? She was like, well, they have no cure for me. There's nothing more that they can do for me. And then, and that was kind of that. I kind of dropped it. But now, after it's all over, I wish I would have asked more questions and been like, why couldn't you have just gone home? Like, why did you have to be in the hospital? Like, if they weren't going to treat you, why didn't you just go home? Like, I don't understand what was the point. I just don't understand. I'm so confused. I was confused and I still am. And there are so many things that just don't add up. But we got off the phone and that was that, I guess. So she had me thinking that she was going to go into hospice and then come out of it eventually. And then a few days later, it was already time to move here to Johnson City. So my dad came with the moving truck again, and literally, so Aaron was at work, right? Aaron was somewhere. And then when my dad came over, he was talking to me about my mom. He was like, so she's in the hospital, right? I was like, yeah. I was like, and he said, how do you think she's doing? Because that's something that he asks me all the time. He's like, are you aware of what's going on with her? Like, how do you think she is? And I was like, I don't know, I think she's fine. Like, she's always fine. And he was like, she has a week to live, right? And I was like, what? I was so shook. I was like, are you kidding me? Because she's literally always been fine. It was so out of nowhere. I just couldn't even, I had absolutely no words. I was like, you're lying. I don't believe this. It's not possible. There's literally no way she can't be dying. I don't understand. And then I tried explaining to him, like, yeah, she's in hospice, but that doesn't mean she's gonna die. Like, she's fine. Everything's fine. And he was like, well, she's in the hospital and she can't talk. She's not responding. And that was just, so literally, even if I wanted to call her, I couldn't talk to her. And that was just the most heartbreaking thing ever. Like, and I didn't, it was so inconsistent. Like what the doctors were saying, they were like, yeah, like she could live anywhere from like a week to a year. It was like, what kind of range is that? Are you kidding me? Like, how are we supposed to plan for this? Or there's just, we couldn't predict anything. And I was like 10 hours away. I wanted to visit, but I was conflicted. Like, well, if I visit and she's not conscious, what's the point of visiting? Because I won't be able to talk to her. Like, it just didn't make sense. So I wanted to visit and I didn't know when. I didn't know what she was going to be like. It I couldn't tell if it would have been a waste of time or if it was going to be worth it. So people were starting to like reach out to me, like her family and friends, like, when are you visiting? And I got annoyed when they asked me that, because it's like, how can you just, I can't just drop everything. And I know that sounds so shitty because, like, of course I can. She's my mom and she's dying, but how? How can I just, like, I don't know, it just seems so ridiculous and stupid and frustrating. Like, she's not awake, she can't do anything. And then, like, what if I go visit her and she lasts like forever longer, and it's like, well, what was the point? Then I'll have to visit her again. Like, what is the goal here? Am I trying to visit her on her deathbed? Am I trying to visit her when she's well? What am I visiting for? Why do I need to come? Why am I being summoned? Like, I understand that this is a hard time and that it's, I don't know. Do you know what I mean though? Like, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't really planning on visiting. I was like, maybe I'll visit when there's more of like a for sure, like, what's gonna happen type of thing, when things were more predictable. Like, maybe if she were to like wake up or become conscious again, then I would visit. But it didn't seem worth it to visit right then at that time, because we wouldn't have been able to talk. She wouldn't have known I was there. It just, there would be absolutely no point. It would have been hard for me to see her like that. I thought it through and it didn't make sense for me to go. So then, obviously, since she was unconscious, she couldn't eat or drink. And without a few days of water, I think you die. I think that's how that works. You know, you can only go a certain amount of time without any type of nutrition. And so I was freaking out, and I was like, everybody was on the same page here. Everybody was super mad at the doctors, like, wake her up, because we thought that the reason that she was unconscious is because they had her on too many meds. Because, like, the whole point of hospice is just to make you comfortable, and the idea of comfort for her is just no pain. So they were medding her the fuck up to get her in a very, like, painless state, I guess. So they put her on so many drugs that she just knocked out and never really woke up. And we were like, why don't you lower her drugs though, so that she can wake up and eat and drink, because she's just gonna die. But hospice doesn't care. That's like, I can go on a whole rant about this. Hospice kills people, that's their job. That's what they do. Okay, my camera keeps dying and I'm really annoyed. Sorry. So basically the way that I feel about hospice from my experiences, like witnessing people go there, is that once you're in hospice, you're screwed. People don't care about saving your life anymore. They are basically preparing you to die. So they give up trying to help you and cure you and make you better. Like, it's more like, how do we make your death more comfortable? That's what the focus of hospice is. And my mom tried to convince me that that wasn't true and that hospice is different now, which I'm sure is true to some extent. Like, I'm sure some people do come out of hospice every once in a while. I mean, once in a blue moon, you know? Why can I literally not breathe today? It's fine. So I was very naive when she told me that she was going to go on a hospice and everything was going to be fine. So I'm really confused though, because she didn't, evidence shows that she didn't know she was going to die. So I feel like the doctors convinced her that hospice is different, and that's what she told me. So I don't think that she was trying to like play me or like trick me into thinking that she was going to be okay. Like, I think the doctors tricked her into thinking she was going to be okay. Um, because they and family told me that when she was there, she was like taking notes on like what was going on with her and how she was gonna get better and like things like that. She was like really involved, and yeah, that's just the best way I can describe it. So the main thing though that makes me think that she had no idea is that she didn't have a will, which is crazy because I mean, in her state, she definitely I mean, how could you not even think about it, you know? So she didn't have a will, she wasn't prepared at all. Like I know that there's more and my mind's blanking right now, but there were a lot of reasons to believe that she didn't know she was gonna die. Basically, she was just as led on as the rest of the family was. I'm sure that she would have been just as confused as to how this happened as we were. Because I think she convinced herself, just like she convinced me, that everything was gonna be fine. She had a positive attitude towards the end, and I feel like it made it kind of probably harder for her to believe bad news. So I'm not sure if anybody told her anything, but I don't know. I feel like she might have maybe been in denial about like any bad news that the doctors gave her. I really don't know how much they told her, but it seemed like the doctors had everybody fooled somehow. Like I feel like they knew what was going to happen, but I don't know what they gained from like lying to us or trying to like lead us on. I don't know what the point of that was. So my mom never woke up. The doctors refused to lessen her meds, which didn't make sense, which we were really upset about. And then a few days later, she died. And I was very, very mad because I was thinking, she's had cancer all this time, and she didn't even die from cancer. She died from starvation, which is fucking ridiculous. Uh, And then, so after like days of being super mad about that and just not being able to wrap my head around it, my aunt told me that she had a friend who was like a hospice nurse or something. And she explained that when you have cancer like that, it's actually not the meds that knock you out, it's the cancer. So she explained that even if they did lessen the meds, she still wouldn't have woken up, and that was just it for her. So that made me feel a little better, I guess, but it was really frustrating at the time. And it still doesn't make sense to me. Like, how, like, one day she just, like, goes out and just doesn't, I don't know. I don't get it. It's so confusing. That's basically, like, the whole process of how it happened. And now I'm just gonna talk about my thoughts after the whole situation. It's about 2 months later now. And let me just say, the funeral was fucking brutal. It was, like, the worst thing that I have ever experienced, but who knows how much worse it could honestly get. So what's really, really weird is that it's been 2 months and I have no idea what like stage of grieving that I'm in. I know it's a thing. I know that there's like however many, maybe 5 stages of grieving. And I think the first one is like being in denial and the last one is acceptance or something like that. And it's hard to tell like where I'm at on there. I haven't looked it up because I like don't want to think about it that hard, but I feel like I could be anywhere from the first stage to the last stage. It's so hard to tell and it's such a weird feeling because I know she's gone and I like get it and I understand and I've accepted it. But at the same time, it's really hard to wrap my head around it and I kind of don't get it at the same time. So I've never had anybody close to me die before, so it's very hard for me to understand the concept of somebody literally not being there. Like I can't like talking to them is not an option and it's just the weirdest, horriblest, most uncomfortable feeling ever. Um so so I don't know where I'm at on that scale because I feel fine most days, like I think about her a lot, but I'm not, I don't know. I don't know, it's really weird because the past few days I've been really, really upset about it, but before that, for like 2 months before that, I was mostly fine. So I have no idea if I'm like just moving from like the first to the second stage or if this is just, I have no idea. Anyway, my initial reaction to her dying was anger, and honestly, I still feel mad. I really feel mad because, like I said in the beginning of this video, when they diagnosed her with cancer, they said that she had probably already had it for 5 years, which means that this was probably preventable. So if she would have gotten herself checked or whatever. So let me back it up a little bit. Her mom died of cancer when my mom was 15, right? I'm 20. So my mom died of cancer when I was 20. Her mom died when she was 15. So she should have known that this kind of runs in the family. Like, just the fact that her mom had cancer and died so young. I think she was like 38 or something when she died. I never met her. Doesn't that make you think like she should have been getting herself checked to make sure that she doesn't have the same issue, which of course she did. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that shit's hereditary. That's not good. And I'm mad that it went undiagnosed for so long because if my mom cared a little bit more about herself or thought ahead or something, she would have went to the doctor, she would have got a scan, they would have been able to say, oh, look, you have cancer, but you've only had it for like a week, so we can like fix it all up for you. Not like they have to find out 5 years later because some shit happens, you know what I mean? Like, how irritating is that? So low-key kind of mad at her for not like seeing this coming. Like, that's so shitty. Like, she's literally dead. But do you know what I mean? I know, like, I am gonna get myself checked fucking often. I'm not gonna wait. Like, anybody could get cancer at any age. I don't know why she was just thinking, like, oh, everything's fine. I'm gonna be fine. Like, girl, no, you gotta get checked. You gotta take care of yourself. Like, what? You can't just, especially when that happens in your family, like your mom, that happened to your mom, you have to think, what are the chances it's gonna happen to you? Well, apparently pretty high. So now I'm like the third generation, and my aunt literally got cancer too, but she's a survivor, thank God. She had breast cancer, which is relatively easy to get rid of compared to other cancers. So she got rid of it and she's good now. It's been years. But literally, their mom got cancer and both of them got cancer, and it feels like I am directly next, which is terrifying. But at the same time, I've been thinking that for like 5 years. Like, I've been knowing this. Like, I'm fucked. You know what I mean? Even before my mom died, I was like, well, I'm next. I better prepare or just accept it. And I decided now that I'm out of my depression that maybe I should not just accept the fact that I'm gonna die of cancer, maybe do something about it. So I know that there's things that you can do to prevent it, like have a better diet, work out, like all the basic like taking care of yourself type stuff. But then like getting checked, dude, that's key. I don't understand why she didn't do that. She could have still been here today if she just found it a little bit earlier. So that's what I'm gonna do. I expect to get cancer at this point, and my goal is to just catch it as early as possible so I can get rid of it and just let it be done like that. Super morbid, but I mean, it's reality, you know what I mean? Like, it runs in the family. Whatever, do what you gotta do. So I'm also really mad about the fact that when she wasn't here, she wasn't really treated right. People definitely fed into her depression. She was depressed too, and that's where I get it from because I think that's hereditary. Like, not like, oh, I'm feeling sad or whatever, like the actual like clinical type of depression that you can be diagnosed with. I was diagnosed with that, she was diagnosed with that, and I'm pretty sure she told me that I get it from her, but whatever. I'm like fine now, but I had it for a while back. So it's getting dark out. Okay, I need to hurry the hell up. I always use like natural lighting from outside because like the lights just they don't do me justice. This light doesn't really do that either. That's okay. What was I talking about? Gosh dang it. Oh yeah, so she wasn't depressed for no reason. People definitely gave her a reason to be. She felt really unappreciated, and I'm gonna be honest, she was really, really, really sensitive. Like, I have pretty tough skin and I can take a lot more than she was able to, I think. But she got very easily offended um at like little comments, and she didn't have like too much of a sarcastic sense of humor. She didn't really understand sarcasm. Not in a funny way anyway. Like, she got it, but she didn't think it was funny. I, however, am very sarcastic and I laugh that shit up. So I couldn't relate to her in that way. But she told me probably a few years ago at this point. I specifically, like, word for word, this is what she said. My mother hated me. That is not cool. She, so try to think about like losing your mom at 15 and never getting any, like 15 is a hard age, dude. You're immature. You just you're not there yet. You're not ready to lose your mom at 15. Are you kidding me? I can't even begin to think about, like, it's so hard. Sorry, my brother's being really loud downstairs. If you can hear that, I'm sorry. But she was obviously not ready. She was in a really bad place when she lost her mom, and she my mom was like the older sister between her and my aunt, and I was able to relate to my mom in that I always thought that my brother was the favorite and like I was like the failure kid. That's how my mom felt. She thought she was the failure kid and her little sister was like the angel or whatever. So I like totally got that, and that made it like easier for my mom to raise me because she was able to relate to me. She was like, she made sure I felt important. She was like, look, I know how you feel. I know that Alex seems like the perfect kid or whatever. This was years ago, but that's just it was like that. And that helped though that she was able to relate there. But she in her 50s told me my mother hated me. That's what she thought when she was 15, and she never got out of that mindset. She still believed that when she was 50, and obviously that's not true. Nobody, like, I don't want to say nobody's mom hates them because obviously there's those shitty parents, but her mom was not one of those parents. She loved her. My mom was loved, and she died thinking that her mom hated her. Like, how messed up is that? She believed that her whole life, and I wanted to say to her so bad, like, your mom loved you, dude, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure I disagreed with her at the time she told me, but I don't know, I feel like I didn't really comfort her enough. The way that she said it was like she was triggered and brought back to her old 15-year-old self. Like, she said it the same way a 15-year-old would, in a very dramatic, kind of like depressed, like I hate my life, like feel bad for me kind of way. And that sucks that she had that stay a part of her, you know? I wish she would have grown into like, oh, I'm an adult now and I understand things now and I know that my mom loved me, obviously. She just never got there, and I hate that. I've been thinking about this for so long, even before she died, and I really wanted to say to her, before I even knew she was gonna die, I really wanted to talk to her about it and be like, hey, I know you think your mom hated you, but she didn't. Because that's something that's like really deep and personal. That was just a deep thought she had, and she didn't really talk about it. And she told me, and I feel like I was the only one who could have told her, like, hey, that's not true, but I didn't. And I can't blame myself, you know? I feel like a little guilty about it, but she's gone now, so I mean, you know what I mean? I don't believe in heaven, honestly. Don't come at me. I just doesn't make sense to me. But whatever. Anyone can believe that whatever they want to. I just don't. I just don't. So now that she's gone, it makes no difference to me, like whether I would have said it or not, but I would have loved to. And then there's something that she said to me, like one of the last few times that I saw her that was just so heartbreaking, but I feel like it's really something that I can't say on the internet, unfortunately. Like, it's so, so shitty. It was something that somebody very important to her said to her that made her feel very upset and worthless. Basically, what happened is she accused them of thinking something about her that was very, very negative, and they didn't even try to deny it, which was just very, very shitty because if they really cared about her or wanted her to think that they cared, they should have lied. They should have at least like said, "Oh no, trust me, like that's not true," but they didn't even like they couldn't even respond. Like I so wish that I could actually tell you what it's but it's so so bad. And if my family finds this video out, just it's just going to cause like so much beef, but it was very very bad and she died fucking thinking that, believing that that person really thought that about her, and they probably did, which is even more messed up, but how could they let her think that? Anyway, that makes me super mad. So she felt unloved by some very important people in her life. She knew that I loved her, but me leaving didn't help, of course. But anyway, hold on, I'm gonna turn on my light. It's getting way too dark. Something that I really wanted to bring up is that my mom was very unlucky to have her mom die at 15 because she wasn't ready, and I was very lucky. I mean, obviously not lucky that my mom died young, but I was 20, which is much more, I was much more ready than my mom was when her mom died, if that makes sense. Um, I knew that my mom loved me so much, and people keep telling me that as if I like don't know. They're treating me like I felt the same way that she did, like her mom didn't love her and it was like she was a failure and shit, and I don't know, but I know she loved me so much, which is such an amazing feeling, but such a loss at the same time because it's like, wow, that's like a whole chunk of love that was just like taken from me, you know? So, I don't know. It's hard. It's really weird to think about. I can't really process the fact that she's not here. Like, there's so many times when I want to like tell her something and I can't, and there's so many things that I want to ask her and I can't, and I just hate that feeling. And it's never gonna go away ever. It's gonna be here my whole life. It's just gonna keep happening. And it sucks. It really, really sucks because I know that memories fade. And since she left me so early in my life, I know that by the time I'm like old, maybe her age or like older or whatever, down the line, I'm not really gonna remember her anymore. Not nearly as well as I do now, and that sucks. I really feel for anybody who's lost their parents at a young age. I'm not even in that spot yet where I can like give advice because it's so new to me. I still haven't completely, I mean, I don't think I have. I don't think I've completely gotten over it, maybe? I don't know. It's so hard. It's such a weird thing to think about. Anyway, enough about that. I'm just gonna talk about my life now and how her dying has affected me, other than me feeling the loss of her. It's affected me in other aspects. So, the first most relevant thing is that my mom dying resulted in my brother coming to live with me. So now instead of me and Aaron living together, it's the three of us. So Alex joined us, which is a huge change for all of us, honestly. But it's cool, it's chill, kind of. um, so my brother was living with my mom, and then when she died, he went to my dad's. He didn't like it there, so then he ended up here. That's been fun. It's really weird though. Like, uh, I have twice as many roommates as I did before. I have to share more of my space. I'm not as home, or I'm not home alone as often anymore. It's more common that somebody's always home. It's just weird, but we're getting used to it and it's working out fine. But he's only been here for like literally a few weeks, maybe like probably 2 weeks. So there's that. And then another way that it affected me is that now that my mom is gone, there's kind of no reason to visit Elgin anymore, which is the weirdest feeling ever because that was like my home for my whole life. And now that she's not there and Alex isn't there, my brother, it's like, what do I have left? What is the point of visiting anymore? I have nobody left there because my step family doesn't like me. They made that clear. Um, no point in visiting them. But what's very weird is that I still have my half sister, the baby, who grew up and is now like 5. And I didn't mention it in this video, but over the years I got closer with her, and for the past like maybe year or two, like around the same, oh my god, it looks so white, that's terrifying. Around the same time I got really close with my mom. That was around the same time that I started getting close with Vanessa. Not like close, and of course not as close as everybody else was with her, but that was when I started to like have fun with her and just like be there, I guess. So by the time I left home, I did have a relationship with her. I didn't before, but we did build one. So now it's weird because it's like, how do we keep her in our life without having to keep the rest of her family? Because ideally, we would be able to visit her and no one else. Which is like the shittiest thing ever, but it be like that, you know what I mean? Nobody wants anything to do with each other, and the only reason that anyone is still connected at all is because of the baby. I keep calling her that, I don't know. Because of the child. If it wasn't for her though, it would be totally over with my step family, which is honestly a shame because that upset my mom a lot when she was still here. She always wanted us to have a blended family, but it was very, very horribly broken. Oh my god, that reminded me. So literally at her funeral, this was the most terrible thing ever. Like this just shows my sense of humor. Somebody was giving a speech at her funeral and they were like describing like her and her life and all the great things about her and all the things that she had and stuff. And I don't remember who was giving the speech, but somebody said like she had a beautiful blended family, and I literally laughed. I was sitting in the front row of the service and I fucking laughed out loud. At her funeral. How messed up is that? Oh my god, but like, are you kidding me? Our family was like, it was just, who are you honestly fooling? Like, blended, honey, I don't think so. It was literally the opposite of blended. Like, nobody talked to each other. It was very messed up. But that was just ridiculous. I was like, how are you even about to lie? But whatever. I don't think that anybody really understood what it was like. Like, you really had to live there to understand how bad it was. But anyway, my half sister, I would like to have a relationship with her still, but I would like to not have a relationship with the people who allow her to have a relationship with me, if that makes sense. She is a child. She cannot do anything by herself. She doesn't have a phone. I don't think, anyway. She ain't a person yet. She can't talk to me yet by herself. In order to talk to her, I have to keep in touch with the people that I don't want to keep in touch with, which fucking sucks. And I haven't talked to her literally since the funeral, and it's like, she's gonna forget who I am, and that sucks, but I don't know what to do. I really have to find a solution. But anyway, and there was like one more thing. Elgin, to me, like that house, living in my mom's house, reminded me so much of my first boyfriend because I lived on a corner. He lived on like the diagonal corner of my street. Like I could literally see his house from my house. And he was my first love. So I was like high-key obsessed, and it was really like not healthy. But anytime I like went to her house, I kind of thought of him. Like everything reminded me of him because his house was right there and I was always there, and it was just weird. But now that my mom is gone and I won't ever go in that house again, that makes me feel like I lost something that I had left with him, which is probably totally imaginary, like, but does that make sense? Like, it feels like somehow I got disconnected with him even more. Like, well, that's it. I'm literally never gonna talk to you again. And that sucks, because, like, first love stays with you forever. Like, there's something about that that just kind of hurts to know, like, wow, literally everything is over. And I don't even mean like with him, but like my whole childhood is officially over. Like, it was nice when I moved to Memphis to know that if I wanted to, I could move back home. But now I can't. I'm here and I'm on my own officially now, and I have nowhere else to go, which is cool because I was ready to move out and I'm independent and stuff. And I'm doing okay, but I don't even have that option to fall back on her anymore. I don't know. Anyway, that was kind of all I wanted to talk about in this video. So, thanks for listening. I know this was very different. This is probably like the only thing that you'll see from me like this, unless you guys want more. I don't know. But you can probably expect a house tour next. And I've got some other stuff lined up, some exciting things. So just stay tuned. And I love you guys. And thanks for subscribing. And please like this video if you liked it. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. Bye!